Alright, so welcome to the video. Today we're going to be doing what I consider to be kind of like a budget flight simulator setup, also known as I was bored at Micro Center and they had a really good deal on a flight stick, and so I bought it. So I'm going to be doing a video on that today, and it is Logitech's older model of their flight stick. I don't have the name and model number off the top of my head, but I will put it here somewhere, probably. I keep doing that, and maybe one day I actually will put something right here in post. But I've been using it with the Oculus Quest. I've been using it alongside that, and I've been using Oculus Link along with Xbox Game Pass, along with Microsoft Flight Simulator, to have a pretty decent, or what at least I consider to be pretty decent flight simulator experience in VR. And I call this kind of budget because you could get a Quest 2 for around $300, and assuming you already have a gaming computer and you don't have a flight stick, the whole setup really only costs you about $320. So you don't have to go like all triple, quadruple, sextuple monitors to have a really good experience using the flight simulator. You can use your hardware you already have, and then just maybe you already have an Oculus Quest, all you need is the flight stick. I picked mine up for $20. Pretty decent deal considering the normal price was like 40 or 50. So yeah, and you don't need a bunch of other things. Most of the controls are already on the flight stick, as you can see. There's like a little thing here to adjust the pitch in certain flight simulator games, but in most cases it's to control the throttle. At least it is a Microsoft Flight Simulator. And then you can use a joystick to adjust the pitch of the aircraft and tilt and steer essentially. So yeah. Now I'm using Xbox Game Pass because for $10 a month, or $1 for the first month, and then $10 a month every month after, you could get Microsoft Flight Simulator instead of paying the $60 or whatever it is to buy the game. Now after 6 months it doesn't really become cost effective because of the fact that you've spent $61 then, or $51 at I guess 7 months, something like that. I'll do the math. I think it's 7 months. You pay $61 then with this promotion. But other than that, it's pretty decent. And you have some slight issues. So like when you plug in the Quest, there are some issues with the fact that if you're running a Ryzen system, sometimes the USB controller doesn't distribute USB 3 properly, and then you get jittering, and it's just not really fun. So if that's the case, just make sure you distribute everything among your ports the right way, and make sure you're using a proper link cable, and not like me where I'm using the Oculus Quest charge cable. If you're using like a Rift or something like that, no need to worry. You won't have these lag spikes like I do. Maybe you will, but most certainly you probably won't. And but yeah, all you have to do to get started is just have your Quest, have the Oculus app, and have Microsoft Flight on your computer that can run it, assuming that you have a graphics card that can actually handle it, because apparently that's a very difficult thing to do. So without further ado, let's get into the gameplay, since this is going to be a pretty short video, pretty straight to the point. Okay, so for all intents and purposes, I just loaded myself into VR before starting this portion of the video, so I already have my flight stick in front of me. I already have everything pretty much ready to go. I will show you the step that you have to do though if you are playing in VR, and that is going into options when you first start up, going to general options, going to VR mode, and when it says switch to VR mode, you just hit it and you just go through with whatever steps it shows in front of you, and you go from there. And that's more or less essentially all you have to do. Just make sure that when you put your headset on, you enable Oculus Link, you enable it to, or you allow it to let your computer access its files, all of that gibberish stuff. So once you get through all of those steps, you go to world map, and then you could just pick wherever you want to fly from. So in my case, I'm going to fly out of MacArthur on Long Island. So we're going to do that. It's a small airport, pretty easy. We're using an A320, I believe. Small plane, pretty easy to fly. You can fly like fighter jets and Cessnas and things like that, but we're going to use this. It's fairly easy to use. So right now it's just showing me the controls on an Xbox controller. It is kind of hard to learn the flight stick because of the orientation and the layout of the buttons. It's just not orthodox. It's kind of The way I'd compare it is like to a Duke controller for the Xbox, but yeah, I'm going to remove all of my objectives out of the way, and we're going to just get right into everything. So my stuff just goes automatically, but you know, if you have more buttons, you would probably do it all by yourself. There are so many buttons on this controller, but not enough to control everything in a plane. So if there is something you have to control that is not on the controller, you use your mouse and, you know, you go through that. Again, quirk of the controller, or caveat of it rather, that it doesn't have all the features that you'd like maybe, but like I said, it's a $20 controller and flight stick. Not really much we can do about that. So as it released parking brakes, and we're just going to go for that. And I'm going to get into this flight, and I will come back when we are in the air. Alright, so now that we're in our ascent and we're in the air, I have full throttle on, so we're going, you know, pretty rough conditions, at least for this game. Like, there's not really that many intensive conditions you could be in a flight simulator, other than, you know, going fast, and, you know, I'm sure if there was more air traffic, then it would be a problem too, but we don't have that, so I am just free flying right now. Just flying over Long Island, and we're not very high up, so you don't really see a lot right now. And when you get higher up, that's when you sort of have the problems that you might see now. So like, if I start to go really fast, like if I do one of these little nose dives, and you'll see it starts to hiccup a little bit. When there's a lot of things going on, it does not like that at all. And that's just something to keep in mind. It's also not great when the Quest that I'm using only has a 72 hertz display, something like that. It's not 90 hertz. Like if you're used to a Rift or a Rift S or a Quest 2, stuff like that's going to be way better for something like this where there's a lot of fast movement, although it might not seem like it. If you're going really fast in a game and all of a sudden, you know, you drop like a few frames, that could be like the difference between you getting sick and you not getting sick. So it is just something to keep in mind. But other than that, it's a pretty decent experience. I've spent hours in this already over the past few days, and out of literally being curious to see what the flight stick would be like, and I said, hey, let's play it in VR. So yeah, just another little curious thing that I did, a little curious endeavor. But with all of that said, it's a pretty decent experience, and if you have a Quest already and you don't have a flight stick, go out and buy one. If you're curious of playing a flight simulator, pretty fun. Other than that, yeah, I would try it out. And we're going to go into Google Earth Flight Simulator, because that's free, and the way you do that is you just go into Virtual Desktop, and that's essentially it. There's not really much more to it, but we're going to go from there. Okay, so when you actually get into Google Earth, you just have to go into your your virtual desktop from the Oculus Home bar at the bottom. I know you can't see what I see, but if you have an Oculus already, you will know that there is a virtual desktop mode, and you could hit that, and you'll be able to go in and actually use your desktop normally. So I just have it zoomed in pretty much all the way, and so much so that I just can't see Oculus Home around me. And we're going to hit Add, or Tools rather, and do Enter Flight Simulator. And I'm going to use the F-16 this time because I am curious. We're going to take off from, let's do Zurich. Let's see what happens. We have joystick enabled because we are using a joystick. Start flight. Now the controls here are very not clear. You just sort of do it. And I was starting to learn that when you turn the stick, it acts as like pressing the right trigger down on a controller, and you just sort of pull up. Now Google Earth Flight Simulator is really laggy, and this is in DirectX mode, which is incredible because that should give us way more performance, but OpenGL just is worse than this somehow. So yeah, you can do all sorts of crazy things though. So like, it's not the same experience as Microsoft Flight Simulator. Obviously, that's going to be way better, but you still get the real world maps, and you get to see pretty much everything still. So I mean, Google Earth Flight Simulator, you can make like crazy moves and nothing, and I mean literally nothing, will stand in your way. Yeah, it's pretty insane. You can go almost as fast as you want. I've hit 1,000 miles an hour before, which is also nuts, because that most likely is not possible. Don't quote me, but I don't think it's possible in this plane. But yeah, no, it's pretty fun. You can use Google Earth as a flight simulator, even if you don't have VR. You could hook up an Xbox controller or just use your keyboard and fly around. It's not a bad game at all. And this isn't even like a well-known feature of Google Earth. But yeah, you can go all over. It does, you know, like I said, same thing with Flight Simulator. You can still get sick if you make really fast motions and you don't have a VR headset that's capable of 90 hertz and above, or really anything above 70 hertz. But yeah, other than that, it's a really, really great experience, especially if you don't want to spend the money to get Flight Simulator and you just want to try it out first. Like, let's say you don't plan on keeping the flight stick or anything. This is a good way to try it out, see if you'll like it. Once I played this, I just bought Flight Simulator on Game Pass right away. So, yeah. We're going to get into the conclusion of this video now. And I'm going to give my final thoughts. We've played the game, you've seen how they run. I played Flight Simulator, and I've played Google Earth Flight Simulator, and both of them run pretty well. Now, again, this is all dependent on your PC, the setup you have, and the headset you have, and there are a lot of different variables. Like, I'm running a 1440p monitor, so certain things are running a higher resolution than they could. Like, maybe if I ran at 1080p, I wouldn't have these issues. Or, like, if I had a link cable, a proper one, I wouldn't have the issues of things stuttering. But I don't, and this is like kind of the situation that I feel like most people would be in if you have a Quest already. You don't have the proper link cable, you have the one that just comes in the box for charging, which is fine, it works okay. But even in the Oculus app, like I have it open here, you can see the little orange dot next to it. That means it's not using the right bandwidth, and that's fine. It works okay, not ideal, you can still get sick. I honestly was getting a little sick playing, but it was still fun nonetheless. For non-extensive gaming sessions, it works fine. And I feel like for the budget setup idea, it's not a horrible thing at all. I might test this one day on the 4770 rig I have, the Haswell rig, and then throw my 3060 in just to see what type of performance we get, just to make, like, you know, really putting a lot of different things together just to see what it'll be like. That is a very distant idea, but it might happen. Nonetheless, this is something I would recommend trying if you already do have a Quest or a Rift or a Rift S or any headset for that matter. I would definitely try it. Just pick up a flight stick. They're like $20, and you can find them at your local Micro Center on Amazon. I'm going to attach links down below in the description just if you want to see what other ideas you might have or any other things that are out there. And yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed this style of video, and I will see you in the next one. Be sure to leave a comment down below if you have any questions, like, and subscribe if you want to see more.